Today, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for qualifying to set the field for tomorrow's 400-mile race around this sprawling 2.5-mile track that has hosted the best in auto racing for more than a century. It's time to see who is fastest at the famed Brickyard. Hello, everyone. Rick Allen alongside the Mayor Jeff Burton and crew chief Steve Letarte. The big story coming into this Indianapolis weekend has been the rules package and the change that they have made that they have to get through, I guess, in this situation. We had a lot of testing yesterday, but that rules package is very important. Tell us the particulars, Steve.
Yeah, this rule package is something different than we've ever run here in Indianapolis. It's basically a high drag package. What NASCAR is looking for is to increase the drag without increasing the downforce. They've done this by changing the height of the rear spoiler from 6 to 9 inches. They've added a 1-inch wicker bill across the back. They had to put that large spoiler on the race car because they've extended the tail closer to the ground to increase the drag on the race car. They've also allowed the teams to widen the front radiator pan. All of those downforce changes just really to get them back to where they were on downforce. But, Jeff, now they have a whole lot more drag.
They have way more drag, and then the hope is to be able to get the air to flow over the car. Like we saw here in 2015, the air blows over the car, the trailing car, and the drivers complained about, hey, it won't turn. So then at Kentucky, they lowered the spoiler. Now the air is on top of the car, pushing the car down, hopefully giving the car that second some sort of an advantage. What we saw, though, at Kentucky, we saw a lot of sliding around, a lot of action, a lot of cars got really free. That was the Kentucky package.
Yeah, when we move forward to Indianapolis, why don't we bring the Kentucky package to Indianapolis? Well, you see here, Kentucky, 42% of that track is straightaway. Lots of corners, very short straightaways. It's all about downforce. But when you move forward to Indianapolis, this place is the straightaways are as long as it gets. 60% of this racetrack are straightaways. So therefore, to give the second car in line an advantage, it's not about downforce. They're trying to give them an advantage in the draft, trying to get them a toe.
And you can see the straightaways at Kentucky are so much shorter than they are at Indy. They get down the straightaway quick. Look at Indy. You have straightaways that last forever. So the goal is to try to let the straightaway be an advantage to the trailing car. Now we have the air going way over top of the trailing car, and hopefully the trailing car can pull up to the car in front, trying to create a little more pass and a little bit closer racing.
A high drag package, race package for Indianapolis Motor Speedway. When we come back, the cars will roll one car at a time for qualifying to set the field for the Brickyard 400. Welcome back to Gasoline Alley as the cars are all lined up on pit road. Here's the qualifying format. There's no group qualifying when we come to Indianapolis. You have 2 rounds. The first round will have the top 12 speeds advance to the second round, and then in that second round will determine who the pole winner will be and those 12 positions.
Yeah, that first round actually not only does it set the top 12, but it's going to set our field. You know, with more than 43 cars here today in Indianapolis, some teams are going to go home, and we're going to decide that in the first round.
First car to roll will be Reed Sorensen. We saw him just coming off of pit road. The first car that was supposed to go was Timmy Hill. He was, as they set the qualifying order based upon yesterday's practice and testing, it was slowest to fastest. Timmy Hill was involved in an incident coming off of turn 4 yesterday. They worked all night long on the 98 car to get it ready for today's qualifying, and they're still working on that. So he has a pass. That's why we have Reed Sorensen out here for his first run. I want to take a look at that spoiler. You had mentioned the rules package. Here's a detailed look at that.
Yeah, and what you're looking at here on the top of the spoiler, that 1-inch piece of carbon fiber, that's the wicker bill we referenced. That's basically perpendicular to the spoiler all the way across. So we have a real tall 9-inch spoiler with that 1-inch return flange or wicker bill all the way across.
And the Lexan, the clear part of it, it's all there for the driver to be able to see. These spoilers are so tall that without that clear, you wouldn't be able to see the car behind you. So a combination of the great big spoiler, that wicker, has made it tougher to see already. Without that clear part, it would be impossible.
Denny Hamlin will be the last car to go in this first round of qualifying because he was able to run a lap yesterday at 49.394 seconds. That was the fastest lap turn. Yesterday, Reed Sorensen, his best lap, 53.296. He'll try to improve upon that.
And Reed's one of those cars that we're going to see a lot here early that has to make the race. They're the last opportunity to get a provisional. They have to run fast enough to get in the race. Actually, not the last. There's one car behind them. But if they don't get in the top 36, they know they're not going to make it. So this lap is huge. This lap could make the rest of their year work with the purse that's paid here and all the things that happen in Indy. Making this field is big for these teams.
What's the the prime line around here that we just saw. You see the steam coming out at the base of the windshield of Reed Sorensen. You have to stay on the bottom of the track when you go through all the turns?
No question. You want the middle of the corner and off. You want to be on the bottom of the racetrack. If you're not on the bottom, you're going to be in big trouble. There's just no grip, so you're going to want to try to be on the bottom. If you can give the car a little bit, if you can let it breathe just a little bit, meaning not choke it down too much on the very bottom, maybe that's a good thing, but I'd rather miss it low than miss it high.
Let's go to pit road and Marty Snyder.
Well, Rick, obviously all the talk is about this new aero package, so let's check in with Trevor Bayne, one of the guys who went out and actually drafted yesterday. So what did you learn in that drafting session and preview what we might see tomorrow in the race?
Well, we went out with our Roush Fenway teammates just to see what it felt like, see if it was going to be tighter behind somebody looser, or if you got in the middle, how it was going to react, and really just seemed to lose overall grip when you got behind somebody. Maybe a little bit looser, which is kind of the opposite of what we've seen in the past where you get really tied up behind somebody. So we'll see how it goes. I did notice about the flag stand on, if you're within 3-4 car lengths, you get a huge run at the guy in front of you. So I think you'll see a lot of late passing getting into the corner and a lot of blocking getting into the corner. So we'll see how it goes.
Should prove for very interesting racing tomorrow. Jeb Burton coming to the checkered, Rick.
Absolutely, Marty. Jeb Burton's fastest lap yesterday, 51.862. This time he improves upon that, just over 51 seconds, so a good pickup for Jeb Burton. Cup qualifying continues here on NBCSN. Welcome back to Sprint Cup Series qualifying. Matt DiBenedetto just finishing up his lap, and he is quickest of the three that have gone. He ran a 50.304, bettering the 51 flat of Jeb Burton. And now on the racetrack, J.J. Yaley in that 23.
Yeah, and the speed that the 83 was able to run, that makes Reed Sorensen, that puts them in big trouble. I mean, they're, quite a bit off of that pace. And even Jeb at a 51.0, when somebody can go out on a 50.30, that puts some fear in you as far as being able to make the race. So we'll see what happens here. It is cloudy. It is overcast. So that sun comes out, the track will slow down a great deal. So that's what these guys are hoping for. They're hoping they make the runs and then the sun come out.
Yeah, and I have always been amazed by this as a crew chief, watching these drivers go out and run. You obviously want to run your fastest time when it comes to qualify. J.J. Yaley clocks in at a 50.16. He's the top of the board. But the fastest he has run in practice here today is a 51.57. So that is a pickup of 1.4 seconds.
Big pickup.
I mean, I know we practice and they work on their chassis, and good for him for the big pickup. But Jeff, as a driver, I mean, you have to have completely different marks as you enter the corner over a second faster.
Well, what's hard is these early guys, they don't have anything to pace off of. But when you go out 4th or 5th and you're, somebody on the team can say, hey, these guys have picked up a second, then the track has grip. But those guys that go out first,
right, you
just have to feel that. And that really happens, as odd as this sounds. When you leave and you're going down the back straightaway, you drive into turn 3 on your get up to speed lap, you figured out right then how much grip you have, because it's so important to carry speed through turn 4, getting the green. So right then you figure it out and you push. But again, we talked about this yesterday. Little changes make huge differences at this racetrack because you have 4 distinct corners. If you get a little quicker, it's a big time difference all the way around the racetrack.
As we see Josh Wise, let's go to pit road and hear from Kelly Stavis.
Walking along with last week's pole sitter, Carl Edwards. Does the 19 car have it in to do it again today?
Well, I don't know. I've been trying to get my engineers to tell me the plan. Josh Knoll, Matt Beckman, neither one of them will talk to me. I guess I've annoyed them so much this weekend already. And now I'm just trying to find Darian so we can get a plan for this thing. I said, what's our plan? They said, be in the top 12. So I said, that's a goal. There's a difference. But we do have a fast race car. And yesterday started off poorly. Everybody dug in. My guys, just like everyone in the garage, worked all day. So we think we've got a shot with this with Stanley Toyota. With clouds like this, if it stays like this, I don't think going out will be such a disadvantage. So we're trying to go have some fun. It's a fast racetrack.
All right, Rick, they've got a goal, not necessarily a plan, though, to get there.
I think everyone has that same goal. They want to advance to that top 12. As we see Alex Bowman now on the clock. Josh Wise was second quickest at 50.296 on his lap, still chasing after J.J. Yaley is Alex Bowman in the 7. See that splitter on the left side dragging the track a bit down the front stretch, and then when they go into the turns, laying over a little bit flatter when they go through these 9-degree turns here at Indy.
Yeah, the way the front geometry in these cars work in the suspension, it's actually reasonably easy to get the left front splitter down on the straightaway. It's very hard to get the right front splitter down because, as you mentioned, you see here the right front is up off the ground higher than the left because when he goes down into the corner, that right front's going to travel. So it's hard to get it where you want on the straightaways and not have it hit the racetrack too hard in the corner.
And Alex Bowman dips below 50 seconds for his lap. 49.910. He is the fastest at Indy. Sprint Cup Series qualifying continuing here on NBCSN as we see Brett Moffitt slowing down and making his way to the access road. He was third quickest of the 7 that have been on the track. Now it's Cole Witt who is on the clock. A high drag package. As a driver, do you feel that? Do you feel it slowing it down? It almost looks like a parachute on the back of that car.
Well, I mean, I've never driven anything with this package on it, but we did do a little bit of high drag stuff in some testing, and you could feel it. It just felt like it slowed the car down the straightaway. It didn't accelerate the way it normally would. But I've never driven anything with this kind of drag. We used to on the super speedways. We had a wicker on the roof at one point, but they would adjust the restrictor plate with that. So it was really hard to tell the difference until you got behind somebody, and then you would pull up so hard on them because there was no air there that you had to run through.
And that is really why NASCAR has gone to this single car qualifying. Indianapolis at the start of the year was on the list for group qualifying as we run at all the downforce tracks, run multiple rounds. Cars can go out at any time they want in a set period of time. But looking ahead at this package, I think NASCAR made the right decision. They've put an aerodynamic package on this race car that's very susceptible to other cars as far as getting a tow and increasing your speeds. So we've seen how unsuccessful group qualifying was at Daytona and Talladega because it turns into a strategy of you don't want to leave pit road, you want to be at the back of the line. So a little forethought, we definitely went a long ways. NASCAR looked at these tracks and said, you know what, we want the fastest cars to qualify in the front row. That's how it should be. We don't want any games to be played, so we're going to go down to single car qualifying, eliminate group qualifying. And I haven't heard anyone in the garage that didn't think that was a good idea. I think everyone was happy we're not doing any group qualifying here.
David Gilliland goes to the second position, just behind Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman picked up 0.3 of a second on his practice speed from yesterday. David Gilliland, his fastest time yesterday was 51.115. He goes a little bit slower, a little bit faster at 50.147. So almost a second faster for David Gilliland pickup. And now it's Michael Annett who's on clock.
You see here Michael Annett, he's basically matching Bowman's time, just a little off at a half a tenth down the backstretch. And what you're going to see is a lot of movement in the clock on the straightaway. So as Annett drives down into turn 3, you're going to see the clock get a little better, continues to get better. This track is all about momentum. Even though you're lifting off the gas in most of these corners, it's how you hit the corner. It's like a multiplier as you go down the straightaway. If you go through turn 4 a half a mile an hour faster than somebody, by the time you get to the start-finish line, that can be hundredths, if not tenths of a second.
Michael Annett goes to the top of the charts. 49.882 for the Des Moines, Iowa native. Michael Annett, fastest at Indy. Landon Castle just finishing up his run, a very impressive lap, 49.467 for Landon Castle. That will be a hard number to beat.
Yeah, and to show you about the racetrack picking up, like you talked about, picking up over a second, that would have put him second fastest yesterday. Denny Hamlin was the fastest car at a 49.394, and he just ran a 49.467. So everybody in the garage is looking at this saying, hey, there's a lot of speed in the racetrack. The drivers are having to realize they're going to have to go a lot quicker than they did yesterday. You can't make any changes to the car except for air pressure, but all these teams and drivers are right now watching this, and they know they're going to have to adjust.
On the track now, probably one of the hardest working teams in the garage over the past 24 hours. And the reason being is coming out of turn number 4 yesterday in practice, Timmy Hill got a little bit loose. They slammed into the inside wall, had to go to this, a backup car. Marty?
And I talked to Timmy earlier, Rick, and he told me they had a group that stayed here until 4 in the morning. A couple of guys went home at 4 a.m. Timmy was among that group staying here until 4 a.m. They had a group that stayed until 6 a.m. A couple more guys went back to the hotel to get a few hours of sleep. And there was one part of the group that stayed the entire night. They have not gone home since then as we watch Trevor Bayne qualify right now. So just the fact that Timmy Hill got on the racetrack and was able to put in a qualifying lap, very impressive that the team was able to turn that car around.
This sport isn't only about the Hendrick Motorsports, the Joe Gibbs racing, the Richard Childress racing. This sport is about people that have heart. They don't always have the big pocketbook, but they'll do anything in their power to be here. to work all night, do all the things they had to do. That's not about business. That's about heart. That's about desire. That's what this sport is built on.
The opportunity to run at the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And Timmy Hill obviously now will be on the bubble. That time won't hold up. 54.211. Not a good lap for Timmy Hill. But again, that's their backup car. That was the first time that that car had been on the track all weekend long. As we see Trevor Bayne going second quickest on his lap at 49.870. That's still almost 0.4 of a second slower than Landon Castle. I don't think we can discount how good of a lap Landon Castle just put down.
Yeah, we just talked about it. You know, that's, you know, he just beat a Roush Fenway car. He beat a really good team, really good equipment by 0.4, and that's, you know, that's not out-moneying them. That's outsmarting them,
right,
out-harding them, out-working them. That's what that is. No disrespect to Roush and those guys, but you got to give credit to Castle in the 40 for being able to lay a time like that.
Now it's Justin Allgaier, and what an incredible lap he's already turning. So speed's definitely picking up. Yesterday the track temperature 123 degrees. Today the track temperature 114 degrees. Almost 10 degrees difference in track temperature.
And Steve, you know, the track temp here is huge. I mean, it's,
oh man,
when you go down to pit road to qualify, you look up in the sky and you start praying to get a cloud. It's so much difference. The speed generated, new pole sitter, so much difference in a cloud versus not a cloud. Just makes so much more grip with the race car.
We are seeing some impressive laps turned here. Justin Allgaier goes to the top of the chart, 49.386 for Allgaier. Marty.
Chatting with Paul Menard, who's kind of surprised by all the speed in the track right now, Paul.
Well, I mean, the sun's kind of hidden right now. In Xfinity practice, the sun was out. It was really hot, and it's definitely cooler now than it was an hour ago. But the track's fast. It has a lot of grip. It just hasn't, you know, it's still early enough in the day where it hasn't heated up. And with the clouds out, I'm kind of happy with where we're going. I think if we get out there in the next, 10 minutes, we'll be good. And then hopefully the sun comes out and slows it down.
He echoed the thought that Jeff Burton said a moment ago. He means that means now the drivers have to step up their game a little bit, Jeff. So that makes it a little interesting for you behind the wheel, doesn't it?
Oh, let me tell you, this place will get your attention anyway. When you get in that seat and you start thinking about the laps here, you have to push so hard. You got to be on the very edge. And then when you know you got to go pick up over a second, that's a lot of speed to go pick up. So it without a doubt gets your attention.
That'll get everyone's attention. Sam Hornish Jr. goes to the top of the charts, 49.32 seconds for Sam Hornish Jr. Welcome back to the Brickyard. Michael McDowell just finishing up his qualifying effort. He was fourth quickest at a 49.785. So right now everyone chasing Sam Hornish Jr. in his Ford, the blue oval. And the bow ties of Justin Allgaier and Landon Castle are second and third, and now Michael McDowell fourth on the clock. Eric Almirola.
And Eric and his team, they need a good run. You know, they were flirting with that top 16, and then they had a few bad races. They've got to find a way to get a good run.
You see, based upon 12th, Matt DiBenedetto on the bubble, that cut line to advance to round number 2, and now he gets bumped down to 12th. Or 13th as Eric Almirola goes third quickest.
Yeah, and that's interesting to me that he's third quickest, because since this is in practice order and teams, you would assume the faster cars are going out later. These guys haven't quite beat the best time of Sam Hornish Jr. Some of it can be the weather. Marty, from the booth, it looks like that gray cloud cover is kind of breaking up. I see a little bit more bright sunshine on the racetrack.
Yeah, all of a sudden, if you're one of those guys going out later, I'm not so sure everything's going to be okay, because the track temperature, it feels like, is going up quite a bit. And right now, I'm trying to get the track temperature. It was 114 earlier, and now it's 115. So it's going up a little bit, but the sun has broken through a little bit. And as Jeff has told us all weekend long, a cloud here can mean everything. I'm not sure it's the only reason you were on the pole a few years ago, Burton, but I know it helped you out, didn't it?
Thank you, Marty. I appreciate that. Yeah, everybody else says that's the only reason. My two colleagues up here, they've been...
No.
Yeah, something like that.
We knew it was talent. We knew it was all talent that got you.
A lot weather.
You mean a good crew chief.
And the crew chief helped out.
But two things have changed from Indianapolis in the past. Years ago, we used to have a little earlier morning qualifying on Saturday. And to go out early was huge, because it was that time of day around 10 a.m. where the sun was starting to just get high enough in the air, in the sky, to really show the track, start to heat up. What I really appreciate now is NASCAR didn't take one practice time to set this. They set 3. And the reason I like that is if it was only one practice time, crew chiefs look for any advantage they can be. Right. You would have games played. When do I make my qualifying run? When do I not? So they said, you know what? We're going to take every lap time from practice. Doesn't matter when you ran it. I think that's by far the fairest way to do it, to make sure the cars that deserve to go out late, they have to go out late and see if they can run a better time.
The other thing that was cool was the time of day they did it.
I agree.
So there, used to be the 10 o'clock in the morning. You had a huge advantage, and then you just drew by uphill. Today it's by speed, and also it's much more neutral as far as temperature. Now you may get a cloud like we've seen, right, but everybody has the same advantage for that. Not everybody has the same advantage to go 10. You know, go at 10 in the morning. So much fair to have it at this time of day.
A.J. Allmendinger was 5th quickest on his qualifying effort. Now Ricky Stenhouse Jr. about 0.3 of a second ahead of 12th, which is Brett Moffitt. Moffitt is on the bubble. Let's go to Kelly Stavis.
With Jamie McMurray, who kissed the bricks here back in 2010. And we were just talking about the sun. You said, man, it's intense. How temperamental is this track when you get sun versus cloud cover?
Yeah, it makes such a big difference because we really have twice as many corners here as you do at a typical oval. And as I was sitting in the garage a few minutes ago, I joked at how cool it was today. And then the sun came out, and it's amazing how hot it's got. So I think the times that the 9, the 51, some of those guys ran when it was cooler out, I don't think that'll be the pole, but I think those are going to be really good lap times just because it was a pretty good advantage to get to go out when it wasn't quite as sunny as it is now.
Guys are keeping their eyes on the skies down here, Rick.
So here's a team that is potential pole sitter. They're going or can run a fast time. I mean, what you're trying to do is get in the top 12. So here's a fast team going early, and I think that's the perfect combination to lay a good lap time down.
Assuming they're going early by chance and not because their car hasn't been as fast as they want to be. But, you know, he's 7/10, working on 8/10 in front of the cut line of J.J. Yeley. And you would expect the 22, especially early in qualifying, to be above the cut line. But there's still a lot of cars to go, so that cut line is going to get harder and harder to reach.
Definitely Logano flirting with the fastest time now, as he's over 1.2 seconds ahead of J.J. Yeley. I would guess this is going to be pretty close to the top speed, and it is. Joey Logano, the fastest lap, 48.83. That is the fastest lap turn at Indianapolis this weekend. Joey Logano, impressive. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying continuing from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Brian Scott's right on the cut line. He is 12th quickest of the 21 that have been on the track.
Yeah, and I think that's your concern. Out of only 21 cars, you want to be well above the cut line right now. I would be shocked if you look all the way up at McDowell, Stenhouse, Allmendinger, Castle. I don't know who's safe at this point because the names that are still to run are impressive, and they're cars that have showed speed all weekend.
Paul Menard looks like he will easily move into the top 12. He goes second quickest, just behind Joey Logano. Just over 49 flat for Paul Menard, former winner of the Brickyard 400.
You know, and we keep referencing the cut line because I want everyone to remind themselves 13th on back will be set. But the top 12, that time that's thrown out. It's a race. You start off. It doesn't matter how fast you were. I don't care if you were 12th or 1st. If you make the top 12, you have the same opportunity in round 2. So you don't have to be the fastest in round 1. You just are looking to be in the top 12 to make sure you move forward.
And once these cars come onto pit road, their teams can't put the cool down units or anything on them until everyone is done with qualifying. But does it help to put a faster lap up earlier because it will naturally start to cool down?
Well, it'll naturally start to cool down. Even though the engine temperatures won't really drop or the water temperatures won't drop, the tires will start to cool down. This is a racetrack. We talk about super speedways like Daytona and Talladega. Well, at flat Indianapolis Motor Speedway, grip is of a premium when you get down in these flat corners. Cooler tires will have more grip. So if someone's able to run in the middle of this session and move forward and sit on pit road longer than, say, Denny Hamlin, who's the last car to run in this session, in the 7 minutes they have between sessions, their tires will be cooler when it's their time to go.
See Ryan Newman here down at 13th. They've got to be extremely disappointed with that. I mean, I talked to RCR guys this morning. None of them were very confident in what they had. They struggled all weekend, and that struggle has continued today.
Yeah, Ryan Newman has won at this track before back in 2013. Kelly.
With Jeff Gordon, who knows a thing or two about winning here at Indy. 5, including last year's Brickyard 400. What's catching your eye here as you're watching these first guys go out for qualifying?
Yeah, just how fast the track was when the cloud cover was here and some of those fast lap times. The 22 certainly put up a good lap and the sun wasn't out. So, you know, with the way the lineup is based on the practice times, it's definitely going to jumble some things up. We certainly didn't want to go late, but we are because we put up a pretty fast lap. And let's hope that, you know, some of these speeds continue and the grip continues even with some of the sun out, or we catch a cloud with our 3M Chevrolet. But so far it's been a pretty good weekend. Interesting package. Going to be very interesting racing, and can't wait to see what we've got here. Single car runs, and then go to race tomorrow and have some fun.
Rick, it's a catch-22. You were fast in practice, and now you got to sit in this heat and wait it out.
Well, the 5-time winner of the Brickyard 400, he can be somewhat cool in the sense that he's won at this track, tied for the most wins of all time at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. As we see the 10 of Danica Patrick getting the green flag. Casey Mears was third quickest at a 49.27.
Danica's tracking a little above the cut line right now. 3/10, 4/10. You see, this is what we talked about earlier. The time continues to drop because she got that run off turn 2 better than Annette's. That's why she continues to gain time. You see, as she goes into turn 3, very important not to overdrive turn 3. The big important corner, though, is turn 4. You have to get through turn 4 and carry your momentum down the front stretch. You see the time slows down, and then it starts to pick up again. She's making great time down the front stretch, easily above the cut line.
So Danica Patrick, 0.6 of a second quicker than Trevor Bayne. Now moves to the 12th spot. Mike Lynette drops down to 13th. Danica Patrick, third quick. And Jeff, you made this comment earlier with the 31 saying, I wonder where all the speed is. And then you noticed the right side window wasn't in.
Yeah, there's no right side window in the car. And then I looked at Steve and I'm like, don't you have to run a right side window? So when they made that qualifying run, I don't know if they forgot to put it in, because in the line sometimes the team will take it out because it gets so hot in the car, then they'll put it in, or did it come out somewhere? But it makes a lot less downforce with the right side window in the car. But with no window in the car, it hurts the downforce, hurts speed, hurts drag, hurts everything.
Yeah, it hurts everything. The only thing it does is runs cooler for the driver. That's the only advantage of having that window out, because you definitely want the right side window in. And something this weekend is just a miss.
Yeah, another mistake.
A hood flies open, lines left off, right side window left out. So many different issues. Tungsten falls out at the end of pit road. We've had more small, and I call them mental errors. Like, that's not skill to put a right side window in. Every crew member up and down pit road can put a right side window in. It's a mental error to leave that right side window out.
Greg Biffle is going to clock 6th quickest. Behind Joey Logano, the fastest in this Sprint Cup Series qualifying. 26 have been on the track. Welcome back. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying continuing. Chase Elliott needed to qualify on time. Looks like he put a pretty good time up. He was 11th quickest on his lap.
Yeah, it's got to be in hard position, Jeff. If you're Chase Elliott, you know, perhaps the car has more speed in it, but if you make a crucial mistake, crash the car, he'll go home. He will miss the race. So, I mean, you have to play that balance.
It's so hard. It's so hard to know how, you know, push too hard, not hard enough. You know, if you have a decent lap, you're going to get in a race. But if you try to push too hard and have a great lap and you wreck, you're out of the race. So he did what he needed to do. He got his car in the race.
Marty, I'm surprised you're able to keep up with the fastest man here at Indy.
That would be Mr. Joey Logano, who's going to do his best sun dance here in a moment. You want the sun to stay out, don't you, Joey? You had a nice cloud for your lap.
Of course we wanted to. Shell Penzo Ford had some good grip out there on the racetrack, but had some good speed built in our race car. And I'm glad we were able to find something. It took us to the third practice till we were able to hit on something to get some speed in our car. So I felt like we were kind of playing behind the 8 ball a little bit, and really wasn't able to put down a good lap in practice to see where we're going to stack up. So, so far, so good. Hopefully that gets us to the next round, and we can have a little bit more fun later.
They may have been behind for some of this weekend, but they've caught up to everyone now, Rick. Nobody faster in Indy than Joey Logano at this moment.
And Carl Edwards just getting the green flag. He was hoping earlier when he was talking with Kelly Stavis that the sun would stay behind the clouds. It has broke through those clouds, and the track has started to heat up, so the speeds won't be as impressive with this track heating up a bit. But as he is on his lap, we need to find out about that right side window. Let's go into the garage and Kelly.
With Ryan Newman, as he said, hey, he won this race from the pole in 2013. Won't happen this time. That right window net was down. How did that affect the drive?
Yeah, the window blew in. I don't think it ever got latched. So disappointing run for Granger Chevrolet, but you know, we felt like we got a pretty good balance in race trim and have to pass some cars and prove it now. So we'll see.
Right, disappointing their run for Ryan Newman, Rick.
Yeah, didn't get snapped in. It's as simple as that. I mean, there are snaps on that window that it locks into position.
So what there are is, unlike the front window and the rear window that are positively fastened in the race car not to be removed. Great lap by Carl Edwards up to P2. He's going to feel good. That hopefully will get him through for the next round. But unlike the front and rear window, the right side window is an escape route for the driver. If he crashed and was up against the wall with the driver's side, he would climb through the car and out the right side window. So there are two kind of over center latches, kind of simple latches that you can open from the outside and the inside. They work very well when fastened correctly, but they are a little finicky at times, and if they don't positively snap in place with the vibration and the buffeting of the air, it can come loose.
About 1 hour ago, Kyle Busch won the pole for the Xfinity race as he heads down the backstretch. Into turn number 3. He's clocking faster than A.J. Allmendinger in that 12th position. The cut line is at 12. The top 12 will advance to round number 2. And gaining speed as he comes onto the front stretch. And he will go third quickest. 49.052 for Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch will bring the field to the green flag a little bit later in the NASCAR Xfinity Series race. Ryan Blaney just finishing up his qualifying lap. 16th quickest of the 31 that have been on track. As he goes to the access road, we see the one of Jamie McMurray going by. Jamie McMurray with an incredible win for Chip Ganassi Racing after he won the Daytona 500 to start out the season. He was able to win the Brickyard 400 in that same season. And now looking like he'll be in the top 12, 0.5 of a second ahead of that cut line, and he is second quickest, still behind Joey Logano's lap of 48.83. Jamie McMurray goes 48.905.
You know, we talk about all the details when it comes to driving a race car. You see Kyle Busch's left hand here on the switches. He's going down the backstretch. We're on board with him. He's waiting. He flips that switch up a little bit before turn 3. And then you're going to see him go through turn 3 and off turn 4. And Kyle ran a great lap. He's in the 4th position. Now he's driving the race car, not worried about the switch. But you see here, after he crosses the start-finish line, on the right side of the car, that mist you see there is really steam. That Camry has run hot enough that it's starting to push water out the right side. So what I think he was doing at that point is they probably gave him a threshold of temperature. Jeff, hey, if you start to see 180, 190, 200, at some point on the backstretch, we need to be at this window. He probably thought it was a little too warm. He turned the electric fan onto the engine, tried to draw a little more air, try to keep the car cool.
And he put his hand on the dash. I can't speak for him, but I would have put my hand on the dash just to remind myself to do it. Because you get so caught up in driving the race car, you forget those things. You just take your hand and set up on the dash, and it's hard to forget with one hand on the wheel, get that switch, because I want to get 2 when I get into the corner.
David Reagan, third quickest at a 49.033. Marty?
Let's check in with Chase Elliott. I know it's not the pole and not the top 12, but in the show, so it's got to feel pretty good, the lap.
Yeah, it's good to get in. We got really tight there on a run. I wasn't expecting that. We had a really good mock qualifying run right there at the end of practice yesterday. I felt really good about it. And I don't know if I was trying too hard, trying to put down a good lap or not, and had to get out of the gas over there in 2, and that straightaway is so long, it killed us. So I hate it. I wish we could have qualified better, but really happy to be in the show. Happy to have our Napa Auto Parts number 25 car here tomorrow. Hopefully have a good day and try to move forward.
The interesting thing he said, Jeff, is it got so tight, and he told Kenny Francis, I tried to carry it as far as I could through turn 2, but with it being so tight, eventually he just had to lift.
Yeah, welcome to Indy. That's that's how Indy is. It's so difficult. One little mistake, and it just adds up. The straightaways are so long, as you heard him talk about. Here's Martin Truex. We've seen this team not performing like we were accustomed to seeing, knocking off top 5s and top 10s. They haven't been able to do that lately. They've run well, but they haven't had good finishes. A lot of it wasn't their problems, but it is their result, whether it was their problem or not. So they need to find a way to get it righted. I don't know if 7th is going to get in the top 12. It's not a bad run, but I don't think that's going to stand.
That's what I was looking at. We've been comparing to that cut line for all of qualifying because that's the goal, to move forward to the top 12. While we talk a lot about the pole and really the top 12 starting positions will be determined in round 2. But earlier, when we had a mix of cars, people would be a half second, 3/4 of a second better than the cut line. You see here, Matt Kenseth, he's 3/10 of a second in the red, gaining a little bit back. But as we're down to 9 or 10 cars left to go, making it into the top 12 has become even more of a challenge. It's a great run off turn 2, though, Jeff.
Yeah, see if he can carry the speed into turn 3. I don't mind the clock going backwards, getting in the corner, but you want to start the other way, leaving the corner.
When you look at his teammates and compare him to his teammates, Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch, both ran laps of right at 49 flat. We'll see how Matt Kenseth compares to that. Looks like he will be a little bit slower. And his lap is 14th quickest at a 49.429. So 4/10 of a second off what his teammates were able to turn.
And let's talk about Casey Mears and Danica Patrick. I mean, they're sitting there 8th, 9th. Sam Hornish Jr., 8th and 9th, and Hornish in 10th. Those aren't teams that we typically see in the top 12. So they went out early, and they're really watching closely right now. If the weather keeps getting hot, they could potentially move into the top 12. So that, it's not teams we normally see, but that's Indy. I mean, that's Indy, the heat, the changes the racetrack goes through. Those guys did a good job, and see if they can take advantage of the weather.
And here is Tony Stewart. Right along with Tony. Right now in the green and increasing. Down the backstretch he goes. A 2-time winner of the Brickyard 400.
And Tony still has that old school driving style. He sits back in the seat with that big steering wheel real close to him. His head doesn't really stay on the headrest. When he turns down in the corner, he takes his head off the right side headrest and kind of leans it to the left, against the G-forces in the corner. That's an old school racer to me. You watch some of the newer, younger kids, they're straight up, head against the headrest, but what a lap.
A really good lap.
Of a second.
Up to first.
Big pickup for Tony Stewart, 48.
48.50 back, P11. That'll get us to the next one. Good job. Give me.
The crowd roars here as Tony Stewart goes to the top of the charts, 48.505.
How good does that feel, right? I mean, the year they've had to come to Indy, his home track, it means so much to him. To lay that lap time down, that's got to feel great.
And listen, we've said it all weekend, and I know it's hard to put into words. Indy is different. When you come to the Brickyard, it is not a regular season event. I know who wins it will move into the playoffs, but a guy like Tony Stewart, who's been on a little bit of a down streak, when he comes here, I hope he comes through on his tiptoes with that Tony Stewart drive and desire, because that lap right there proves that they have the speed. Hopefully they can have a nice run in second round, but move this forward. Just a little step in the right direction to carry over to the race.
Tony Stewart needs a shot of confidence.
Right.
I mean, he needs it. And that right there, that might be something that can push him forward and get his year heading in the right direction. There's another team, Clinton Boyer in the 15. They look like they're moving in the right direction as well. They've got to get it going too. They're right there, 16th, 17th, 18th in points. They're messing with it. They got to find a way to start laying down good finishes to move themselves up. He's in the 6th. That'll be close, we think. That'll get him in?
6th is going to be really close with what we have, 8 left to go. It's going to be, 6 are going to have to beat him. I'm going to think Boyer's at the cut line. I think Boyer and Kyle Busch in 6th and 7th, that's where we're going to see the cut line, is roughly around a 49 flat, 49-0. And it's funny how timing works. When I look at the scoreboard from David Reagan to Paul Menard, so that's 5 positions, is 3/100ths of a second. 3/100ths of a second over 2.5 miles.
Very impressive as we see Kyle Larson on the clock and in the green. See if he can keep it there. Looks like it's growing just a bit now as Sam Hornish Jr. on that cut line.
He carried a lot of speed off of turn 2. You saw him, he left the bottom, and when I saw that, I thought this is going to be really good or really bad. And he was able to carry that speed, and it just kept going faster and faster. Nice exit.
And you know what's funny when Jeff says he left the bottom of the racetrack? We talk about a game of inches. I saw the same thing, and he is. We're not talking 12 feet. We're talking 3-4 feet higher than what we expect this car to be. A quarter car width.
And this is a great lap for Kyle Larson. Don't know if it's enough for Tony Stewart. Second quickest for Kyle Larson, just behind Tony Stewart. 4/100ths of a second behind Tony Stewart.
Well, you know what these two have done? is they've taken all the excuse about the racetrack out for the next 7 cars. Because as a crew chief, I might have said, you know, Logano ran his lap real early. The track was good. Well, guess what? Tony Stewart and Kyle Larson has proved that there's speed in the racetrack.
Cloud cover didn't have anything to do with those 2 laps. Casey Kane, the next on the clock.
You can see how low they get their left side tires. They actually cross over that white line. There's a piece of concrete. There's a strip of concrete. You see where it's white. They put their left sides right on that concrete. Don't really want to get on it, but almost just touch the edge of it. That's where the most grip is. And we can try to be lower in 3. The lower you can get in 3, the more grip there is. Turn 3 is the most grip on the racetrack, period. In the store, you can be in the gas, be really aggressive right here. Turn 4, same thing, much more grip than turn 2. You know it's out there, so you tend to overdrive turn 4 because of the grip that's there.
But look at the timer. He did what you said. He kind of backed up the corner, jumped in the gas. You saw the timer start to go good, and then it started to go bad again, which tells me he couldn't hold the throttle like he wanted off the exit of turn 4.
Casey Kane not able to get into the top 12. He is 21st quickest at 49.618 for Casey Kane. Now, if you're his teammate, which he's got teammates going out behind him in Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Jimmy Johnson, are you nervous about your teammate just turning that lap?
I think at this point, you know what you have from practice. You know, the beauty is Jeff's on the racetrack. He probably doesn't know what Casey Kane has run, which is sometimes the best part. If you're sitting on pit road, you have to start questioning it.
So here's what happens. When your teammate does great, your crew chief says, hey, he's P1. When your teammate's 30th, they don't tell you that. So they know, your crew chief knows you want to beat your teammate, and he uses that to his advantage. See Jeff Gordon, he's not showing the speed right here that they want to be showing. They felt comfortable with their car. I talked to them this morning, then talked to Jeff, I talked to some of the crew members. They thought they had a good car. They felt like they have a good chance for tomorrow.
Look at him saw on the wheel.
You can see him here, messing with that throttle a little bit. You want to hear a steady throttle. You want to hear him be able to get in that throttle and stay in it, but he is picking up speed while he's doing it.
Into the green. Can he break into the top 12?
Got to be close. It's a long front stretch all the way down here.
Goes in the red before he gets to the start-finish line. He is 14th quickest. And let's go trackside to Marty Snyder.
Well, he's got a little work to do to get it on the pole, but so far he's the fastest guy here in Indy. And I think Jeff Burton put it best. How good does that feel, Tony?
That's a moral victory, if nothing else, for us and the team. It's been a pretty rough season so far, so you know, this is a great way to come to your home track, and I wish this was the second round, not the first round, but at least we're going to be locked into the second round, and that's the main thing right now. So just got to figure out how to do it one more time.
I think you said last week you had to Google the word confidence. Do you have a little bit now after that?
I think I'm starting to feel what it feels like again. So yeah, it was that. That's exactly what I needed.
And a little cool moment. There's about 1,500 fans behind him, Rick. When he got out of the car, he got a standing ovation and gave the classic Tony Stewart fist pump. It was cool to see.
He needs confidence, and that's surprising to say with a multiple-time champion like Tony Stewart. But right now he needs confidence, and that's exactly what he got with that run. As we see, Brad Keselowski tracking quite a bit slower than that 12th spot that Casey Mears is holding on to. Brad Keselowski 26th quickest, and it may have been from him getting into the wall.
Yeah, he was pushing hard. He was trying to lay a lap down. He just didn't have the grip to do it. You can see this is the straight between 1 and 2, and we see a lot of cars. They try to use all the racetrack. You try to arc the corner, get the right angle, and he just moved up into the wall a little bit too much. It got him off the line, and that messed up the entire back straightaway, the entire turn 2 speed, which killed the entire back straightaway. So he was trying to get it all. He just tried a little bit too hard.
And the fan favorite on track, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Average finish at Indy, almost a 19th position. And right now, tracking in the green compared to Casey Mears' lap and gaining 0.2 of a second.
You could hear his throttle compared to Jeff Gordon's. You know, he wasn't able to stay in it quite like he wanted to, but he was better than Gordon, where Gordon you kept hearing on, off, on, off, on, off. Junior was much more steady with the throttle. That moved him into 10th with just a few cars left. I don't know if that's going to do it, but it'll be close.
Yeah,
four cars to go.
With 4 to go, Earnhardt, Truex, and Danica Patrick all have to just I mean, there's nothing they can do here, but they got to have a little bit of nerves. They're looking at Kevin Harvick on track now. He's showed a lot of speed in practice, especially the second 2 practices. It seems like they really found some grip in their race car and just overall lap time. So really all of SHR I'm impressed with. We have Tony Stewart in first, Danica Patrick in 12th, with 2 SHR cars still to run. That tells me that as a company, they've found a lot of speed. You see Kevin Harvick here tracking in the green to try to bump Danica from the top 12.
Down the backstretch. And what a long backstretch it is here at Indianapolis. Still tracking in the green. We know that Reed Sorensen, Jeb Burton, and Josh Wise officially will not make the race for tomorrow. Kevin Harvick looking impressive onto the front stretch, front of the grandstands. And he goes 5th quickest for Kevin Harvick. Safely in the top 12. He will advance to round number 2. Now it's Martin Truex Jr. and Dale Earnhardt Jr. that we'll have to wait to see. Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch, and Denny Hamlin all still to go. And Jimmy Johnson now on the clock.
A lot of people this morning walking through the garage are pointing at the 48 car, as being the best car, the fastest car. A lot of teams are saying we're going to have to find a way to beat the 48. So it wouldn't surprise me to say it's a lap time down here. When the other teams talk about you, you're doing well because, you want to talk about yourself. You want to believe that you have the best car. But almost everybody I spoke to pointed to the 48.
Looking at the scoring pylon and watching our broadcast, you see Martin Truex Jr. wondering if he will advance into round number 2. Jimmy Johnson tracking in the green. If he can go mistake-free, it looks like he will advance to round 2. Will spark off the splitter on the left side of the car, but still increasing. And so Jimmy Johnson,
you made it.
3rd quickest. Chad Knaus letting him know you made it. Bring it back around to us. We'll cool it down when we get here.
And this team has the chance with multiple wins in the bank. This 48 team is a dangerous race team to race against because they have nothing to lose. So when you come to a place like this, they can experiment. They can get outside the box. They can try different things. And now with this new aero package, it seems like Chad and Jimmy have done a good job throughout their career adapting to all the different changes with the race car. If you look at all the championships he's won and all the different types of cars, it's no shock the 48 is still pretty quick.
Stewart-Haas Racing's Kurt Busch now on the clock and still in the red, although he is getting into the green as he's entering turn 3. Back into the red in the short chute. See if he can increase. He's going the wrong direction as he goes through 4. Can he gain some of it back on this long front straightaway? It doesn't look like he's going to have enough time to do it. Very close, though. 14th quickest for Kurt Busch. Dale Earnhardt Jr. still in the top 12 with only 1 car still to go, and that is Denny Hamlin.
So from Paul Menard up to Tony Stewart, 1st to 11th, they're all sigh of relief. They're debriefing. They're talking about what they need to do in round 2. Do we need to adjust our tire pressure? What opportunity do we have to improve our runs? The only team still on pins and needles is the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to see what Denny Hamlin has.
The 11's been fast almost in every practice session. They've shown speed from the time they unloaded. First lap on the track, they were fast. Of course, they had the problem with the hood coming off yesterday and had to miss some practice fixing that. So certainly if you're Earnhardt Jr., you're not wanting the 11 car to be the last car because, they've shown a tremendous amount of speed.
The 9 races they have run here 4 times, top 10 finishes, and they are in the red. They've got a lot to make up. They want to break into the top 12 and advance to round 2. Into turn 3 he goes, and going the wrong direction.
Yeah, he just didn't get into that corner anywhere near as deep as Tony Stewart did or Dale Earnhardt Jr. That's who we're comparing to. He just lost time on corner entry, lost a little more time in turn 4. He's gaining some back, but it looks to be too little too late for the 11.
They're disappointed with that. 17th, they ended up being 17th. That's not what they were thinking they had. I know they thought they had a much better car than that. So disappointed, but long race tomorrow to make it up.
And at the end of round 1, another roar from the crowd as they have found out that Tony Stewart was fastest in round number 1. So the Rushville, Indiana native fist pumps. He will be quick in round 2 as well. NASCAR Mobile is the best way to follow your favorite drivers. You can build your own leaderboards, listen to driver in-car audio, and watch live in-car cameras. All you have to do is go to NASCAR.com/mobile. Well, there's some impressive names here in Indiana. Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon just outside the top 12. Let's take a look at 13th through 43. These starting positions are locked in. Martin Truex Jr., Kurt Busch. How about Danica Patrick and Casey Mears in 15th and 16th?
Yeah, they both did a great job, and Sam Hornish Jr. also in 18th. And you have people that are disappointed, like Matt Kenseth down in 23rd.
Yeah, we see here 25th through 36. Austin Dillon, A.J. Allmer, Casey Kane, all disappointed to be outside the 20s. But Ryan Newman back in 36 with that right side window issue. That's going to be a long battle back from 36th.
How about Chase Elliott? Had to get in based upon his speed, was able to do it. He's 28th quickest. He will start the race on Sunday here at the Brickyard 400. Well, let's go trackside to Marty Snyder.
And let's chat with Jeff Gordon, who was just chatting it up with Tony Stewart. And is it kind of surreal to think you just had your last qualifying attempt at Indy, Jeff?
Yeah, I wish it would have been a better one than that.
We'll give you another shot. How about that?
Yes, please. Thank you. I would like one because I really think our 3M Chevrolet is really good. I mean, it's been good all weekend. And I really feel like I just kind of underestimated the grip. I had a little wiggle going through 3 coming to the green and concerned me slightly, but the grip was there in 4. So I was aggressive into 1, but just not near aggressive enough. And that's what's disappointing is it wasn't a balance issue. It wasn't a speed issue. It was just once I didn't get enough speed through 1, it just adds up with this new package to the whole track. And so, yeah, I'm pretty disappointed to be starting back there. We all know you can pass down the straightaways with this package, but at the same time, you're going to have your hands full in the corners, especially starting 19th. So we got a lot of work to do. Going to have to be patient and aggressive and see how we make our way through traffic.
This means you have to put on a better show tomorrow, right?
It's going to be a heck of a show. I can tell you that. I mean, keep your eyes open on these restarts. We're going to see more 3-wide racing I think we've ever seen here, at least down the straightaway till you get to the corner.
Jeff Gordon will start 19th tomorrow. Kelly.
Martin Truex Jr. will start 13th, just missing out on that top 12, I should say. Martin, anything else you could have gotten out of the 78?
Man, I don't know where I lost it. I come in here and said, man, I wish I screwed up somewhere so I could at least tell you what was going on. The car felt good. I feel like we've had pretty good speed all weekend, and I don't know. I don't know if I didn't get it all there. I felt good about the lap. Man, it's so close from 5th on back. We just missed it by a hair. So hate it for the guys. We felt good about what we had coming in today, but we'll race them hard tomorrow, and should be a fun race.
Martin Truex Jr. starting 13th, Rick.
And there were 46 cars here trying to make the 43-car field. The 3 that didn't get in will be Josh Wise, Jeb Burton, and Reed Sorensen. So those 3 will not be able to race on Sunday. When we come back, we will set 1 through 12, round 2 of qualifying. It's down to 12. Who will win the pole at Indianapolis Motor Speedway? These drivers all advance to round 2. Tony Stewart, very impressive lap. 185.5 miles an hour average around this 2.5-mile historic racetrack. Marty.
And let's chat with Kyle Larson, who was just talking to Sage Karam, IndyCar driver for Chip Ganassi Racing, also Jamie McMurray. And what were you and McMurray discussing for this final second round?
Just what we felt on our lap, and then also what I felt for my second round of Xfinity. I got really tight my second round, so I think we'll probably free up here quite a bit. So yeah, I don't know. I'm happy with the Target Chevy so far. It's got a lot of speed.
Enough to pick up to get the pole, you think, perhaps?
I hope so. We were close there, so just find a little bit more speed and hopefully get the pole here. That'd be really cool. To do anything special here would be cool.
Interesting to note that he did tighten up in his second round of Xfinity, Rick. That's a note that we'll use in a moment.
And I like his Target name tag on his driver's suit. Kyle, thanks for coming to Target. Cars made up of 7 different teams. Penske has 1 car. Richard Childress Racing has 1. Joe Gibbs Racing 2 cars. Michael Waltrip Racing with 2 cars. Chip Ganassi Racing has 2. Stuart Haas Racing has 2. And Hendrick Motorsports has 2. And the first of their cars is now on track.
Yeah, so the order for the second round of qualifying is we take the top 12 from the first round and we go from slowest to fastest. So you see on the left side of your screen, that is in the order the cars will go out on the racetrack. Earnhardt Jr. will go out first. Tony Stewart, who is fastest in the first round, will go out last. As these cars complete laps, you'll see times pop up. They'll reorganize in the running order on the racetrack where we're going to see our pole sitter.
And what you see Dale Jr. doing right now, he's trying to get a feel for his race car on scuffed tires in qualifying order. That's not normally what we see. We normally see going out on stickers. But now he's got to get a feel really, really quickly, getting through 3 and 4 to figure out what he can do getting into turn 1.
You know, the other thing we're going to have is we have a bunch of nervous engine guys because, you see here, a little bit of a wiggle. He moves up the racetrack. You know, early you had all morning to get your temps where you want them, get the engine cooled down for that first round of qualifying. Here we are in second round. It was a quick turnaround. What team did the best job of getting the engine cooled down, choosing how much tape to run? You want to run these temps or these engines a specific temperature for horsepower. If you run them too warm, you can hurt. If you run too much tape, it hurts downforce.
And these are long laps. These are 48-second laps, so it's a long time for the engine to be running. You know, a lot of racetracks we go to is much, much shorter than that. So the longer the track, the harder it is to keep the temperature out of the engine.
And listening, barely out of the gas in turn 2 and barely out of the gas in turn 4 for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I'm interested to see if they can pick up. Dale Earnhardt Jr. had run a 49.07 in round 1, 49.36 in round 2.
Good try. I'm not so sure that's the first thing you want to hear on the radio when you get done.
That's a
good try.
That's a, hey, we're going to talk about it later. It's not as good as we wanted, so good try.
And it's Paul Menard's turn.
You know, I would think it's going to be hard to pick up time. It's gotten warmer. You're not on sticker tires anymore. I think it's going to be hard to run faster the second time out versus the first time.
But the Xfinity cars did it. You know, an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, the Xfinity cars had their qualifying. They're on the same tire package as the Sprint Cup tires. So I don't know if it's just the reduced speeds or the different package or the downforce package, what it is, but the Xfinity cars win faster.
Paul Menard, the 34-year-old out of Wisconsin.
I think it's harder.
A little bit slower.
The more horsepower, to me, the harder it is to run better the second time. I know that sounds crazy, but you're carrying so much more speed when you go to the throttle. It's hard to make the tires grip. So we'll see what happens. And it's continually get hotter. When the Xfinity cars went, we can see here he's down a second. So, you know, already we've seen a swing.
Yeah.
Earnhardt Jr. Menard was faster than Earnhardt Jr. in the first round. Now Earnhardt Jr. is faster than Menard.
And every car that 88 beats now is gravy because they were 12th. So right now they're guaranteed to start at least 11th. You know, that's how you have to look at it. And at this point, we have no more practice. Qualifying's over. You go to the truck, see where you're going to start, look at your pit road, figure out where you want to pit for a pick, and go run the race.
So you mentioned Xfinity qualifying. Is there an opportunity for these guys that are running the Xfinity race and have just done this to have an advantage, knowing what to do, not only to the car as far as changes, but to themselves as far as changes? We heard about Kyle Larson.
That's right.
You know, what he felt. So is there an advantage going into this qualifying for the guys that ran Xfinity qualifying?
90 minutes ago, Kyle Busch was able to win the pole for the Xfinity race, which will be run this afternoon on NBC.
He was out of the gas a long time. You saw he never got the car all the way to the bottom in turn 3. He's going to have to try to recover all that in turn 4, and that's going to be very difficult to do. It's hard to make up a mistake in one corner. You see him turning the engine fan on with his left hand. Wants to keep as much heat out of the engine as possible.
Yeah, you see the gauges were flashing red off from turn 4. That tells me that they hit a warning, a certain amount of temperature. You can set those to flash red. Kyle Busch ends up P2.
Second quickest for Kyle Busch of the 3 cars that have been on track. Too hot, you heard him say.
Too hot. So when those gauges you see right here in the right, it's flashing at him. Now the car's off, so it's not powered up. But when your car's running at speed and those start to turn red, you know, that's not the goal. To turn yellow, to give you an idea you're getting there, when they turn red, you're obviously too warm for wherever TRD would like to run that engine package.
Now it's Clint Boyer's turn. Michael Waltrip Racing still looking for a win. This would be a big one coming at the Brickyard.
And when we talk about engine temperature, I don't feel they're getting to the range where they're going to hurt the engine as far as break an engine. but peak performance. These guys spend a lot of time in the engine dyno. They know where this engine makes the most horsepower. And with this high drag package that NASCAR has brought, we talked at the beginning of the show how tall this spoiler was. Well, the best way to pull a parachute through the air is a lot of horsepower. We see Clint Boyer going into the green.
And Clint Boyer goes to the top of the chart, 49.347. P1.
They've got to feel good about that. A team that's been struggling lately. They showed a little speed. There was like a 3-week window where they showed some speed, and then it went away the last few weeks. So they got to get back on track. This is a good way to get it going.
You know, that the crew chief change they made a few weeks back, you just have to wonder, you know, if it just takes a few weeks to get the verbiage down where everybody kind of understands exactly what scale the driver's talking, how the car's driving, all that's very important.
You know what's interesting with the crew chief changes, both teams have seem like they've been qualifying. David Reagan's speed, he's definitely qualified better since they made the switch.
In the green for Carl Edwards on his lap. Can he stay there?
He used a lot of racetrack leaving turn 2, let it go all the way to the wall. Got a really good lap going right here. A really good lap.
Over 0.2 of a second advantage over what Boyer was on his lap. 49.347 is the number Carl Edwards is shooting for.
And this is what makes multiple round qualifying so difficult is you don't have to be good once, you have to be good twice. Carl Edwards looks to be one of the first cars that's going to have an opportunity to repeat his lap time. He goes to P1 at a 49.05. That's really close to the 49.03 that he ran in P1.
Joe Gibbs Racing again, you know, they're showing speed. They did so good at Kentucky with the rule change there. This is a completely different kind of rule change, but they've come here and they've shown speed as also.
3 out of the last 4 races have been won by Joe Gibbs Racing. And now it's David Reagan's turn. Teammate to Clint Boyer and Michael Waltrip Racing.
To get both cars in the top 12 for Michael Waltrip Racing, I think is a big accomplishment. Because even when they had a little speed in one car or the other, just as a company, they didn't really seem to be there. Here we are at one of the biggest races we have all summer, if not all year long, other than maybe the Daytona 500, and they've moved both cars forward into the top 12.
And he's got a chance to beat Carl Edwards. He's right there with him. If he can get through 3, well, he'll have a shot. Can he carry that speed? Looks like he didn't get in the corner as good as Carl did. Was able to carry the speed off, but gave up too much getting in the corner.
See if he can gain any back through 4.
It's going the right way. You know, we talk about a 1/10 of a second at Bristol is forever. A 1/10 of a second at Indianapolis is not.
That's about all I got.
You heard him. That's about all I got. He feels good with his race car.
Second quickest for David Reagan. 3 Toyota Camrys at the top of the score chart right now, or the scoring pylon.
And I'm going to say it again. He's done a really good job qualifying since he moved over to MWR. I've been really impressed with what they've been able to do on qualifying day. They haven't been able to put it together on Sundays, but on Fridays and Saturdays in qualifying, they've done really well.
Now it's Kevin Harvick's turn around the 2.5-mile historic Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
I'm still struggling to comprehend that Tony Stewart and Kyle Larson ran 48.50 in round 1. That is over a half a second faster than our current fast time. I want to see if they can back it up. I think as we get into the last couple cars of this quick 12-car session, I want to know, can they back that time up?
And you see that long straightaway, the speed going away from Harvick as he got into the turn.
Oh, he had to get way out of the gas. Look at the time now. You heard him get all the way out of the throttle?
Yeah, he said killed it.
Yeah, he had to get all the way out of the throttle, and that killed the turn 3 speed. Did a nice job of recovering in turn 4, but just gave it all up in turn 3.
As soon as I put the pedal back down, it went straight.
Meaning he got tight. When he put the throttle down, he had the wheels turned, he put the throttle down, and it just pushed off turn 3. He had to get out of the throttle. If he hadn't gotten out of the throttle, he'd have hit the wall.
Third quickest for Kevin Harvick. Now just 5 to go. With McMurray, Logano, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Larson, and Tony Stewart. Jamie McMurray on the clock.
There's something about the Brickyard that's such a compliment of car, driver, engine. You know, we talk about sitting on the pole at Daytona or Talladega, you hear the driver say, I had nothing to do with it. It was all the car the guys built. And then we go to some of these short tracks, you have to have a good car, but man, the driver has a lot to do with it. When we come to the Brickyard, it's a real true compliment of all. You have to have great aerodynamics, great horsepower, a nice setup, and the driver has to be very, very exact for all 4 corners. I think that's something special about this racetrack, and that's what one more thing that kind of goes to the level at which the Brickyard 400 is.
Jimmy McMurray won this race in 2010. He started from the 4th position. Let's see if he can improve upon that today as he comes down the front stretch, 0.2 of a second off what Carl Edwards has posted.
Looked like to me Jamie lost a lot of speed off of turn 2. He got really low in turn 2, went out by the wall, but it looked like it just didn't generate the exit speed that he wanted it to, and it kept backing up. Lost some off turn 4 also, but it looked like most of it was off of turn 2. And to your point, Steve, the driver and the car have to be in sync at every racetrack. But here, it matters even more because we've said it many times, but there's 4 individual corners. If you miss one of those corners, it affects the speed all the way around the racetrack. All you can do is try to recover after that mistake, but you can't get that time back. Once you've given it away, it's gone. You cannot get it back.
It's fitting that Joey Logano is following Jamie McMurray onto the track for this qualifying run because Jamie McMurray back in 2010 won the Daytona 500 for Chip Ganassi Racing and won the Brickyard 400. Hadn't been done before with one owner winning the Daytona 500, the Brickyard 400, and they won the Indy 500. Well, right now Penske has that same opportunity. Joey Logano won the Daytona 500. Juan Pablo Montoya won the Indy 500. And so Penske looking to make the sweep, and let's see if Logano can pick up some speed on the front stretch.
He went through turn 4 unbelievably fast. It won't be enough because he had given up too much to the other end of the racetrack, but he went through 4. I mean, you couldn't do turn 4 any better than that. He recovered all his speed in one corner, almost made it happen, didn't quite have it all there.
So Logano second quickest at 49.143. Still waiting to see if anyone can dip down into the 48-second bracket as Jimmy Johnson has taken the green flag. Marty.
And Rick, an important note on Jimmy Johnson's first run, he had an electrical issue. He actually had to switch to the backup battery and had a very long conversation with Scott Maxim, also Jeff Andrews from the Hendrick Engine Group, and they decided trying to figure out exactly what was wrong. But Johnson said the engine had some fluctuating issues with electrical power, so that's why they switched to the backup battery. This run on the backup battery here, we'll see if it affects his lap at all.
And I have some concern for the 48. We hear how fast they are, and all these teams say they're the car to beat. But this is not the first issue they've had this weekend. The car stalled in one of the practices out off turn 2. Then in the middle of the other practice, they had the engine guys huddled up discussing about, Jimmy said he thought it was on the rev limiter. These are not the bugs you want to try to work out at Indianapolis. With practice over and qualify, you see Jimmy in the 10th position. They can't be pleased with that. I think this is a story, Marty, we're going to have to continue to follow through the rest of the day to see what they think is wrong with that 48 car.
The next time this race car gets on the racetrack is in the race.
Right.
They get no other chance to work on it, so they've got to get it right tonight and tomorrow morning.
He is the slowest of the 10 that have been out in this second round of qualifying. And now Kyle Larson with just 2 to go. 2 drivers to go to find out who will win the pole. Can Kyle Larson or Tony Stewart outdo Carl Edwards?
Well, they have a half a second in the bank. They ran 48.50s their first run. 49 flat is the best right now. Can they possibly back up 2 spectacular laps?
Hovering right around that pace is Kyle Larson down the backstretch, losing a little ground. Trying to put together 2 perfect turns through 3 and 4.
He's going to have to try to get it all in one corner, and that's just not going to happen most likely. So still a good effort, but not the speed to beat up Carl Edwards.
And that's one of the most disappointing things when it comes to 2 rounds of qualifying is you're going to Kyle Larson in this 42 car is going to run a 49.27, which is 0.7 of a second slower than he just ran in qualifying 1.
So 1 car to go. Hometown, Tony Stewart. See if he can make it happen.
After the first round of qualifying, Tony Stewart went across the start-finish line, the yard of bricks. Everyone in attendance roaring with the driver of the 14. He's on the green flag. Can he win the pole at Indy?
Right on the bottom to the middle of turn 1. That's where you want to be. See, you did a good turn 1. Also a good turn 2.
He's in the green. Right now, just a bit ahead of Carl Edwards. Down the backstretch he goes. He's losing a little ground as he goes into 3. Can he gain it back through 3 and 4? An impressive 3. Working the fans. And into turn number 4. Had to get out of the gas just a little bit in turn 4. He's going to fall a little short. Tony Stewart, 4th quickest. Carl Edwards wins the pole for the Brickyard 400.
Joe Gibbs Racing on another pole. Whatever this team has found for speed, it has carried over on Saturdays, on Sundays, with all of their different race cars. This is, you know, Carl Edwards and Darren Grubb, high expectations to start the year. Come out a little slow. Man, they are on fire now.
Marty.
I think Carl Edwards is a little shell-shocked. He talks to Adam Stevens. After the start of the day yesterday, would you have imagined you'd been on the pole today?
No, not one bit. So, and Tony had me nervous. He was so fast in the first round. I thought, man, if he gets it, that's a little bit of redemption, you know, because it would have upset Darian after the whole deal before. But our guys did awesome. Yesterday, they worked so hard. Everybody in the garage worked hard, but changing engines and, I mean, the Stanley tools were flying all over the place. So really big deal for Stanley. They've done so much for us and so much for our team. And I think this race is going to be hard to pass, so that's a huge, huge thing to start up front.
You hear all the fans cheering for Tony. How nerve-wracking were those couple of minutes?
Well, I know how good Tony is, and you could tell. I mean, the way he ran that first round, I thought he was – I know he was giving it everything he's got. So that's really cool. You know, we just we got a good group of guys. Everybody's been working hard. These Joe Gibbs Toyotas have been so good. TRD's put so much into all this, and with all these rules package changes, everybody's worked so hard. It's really neat to run that well. And Kyle Busch was talking a lot of smack before that second round, and he left before I could come back here and give him some trouble. So just an awesome day for us, and can't say enough about my guys working so hard.
JGR continues on their roll. Carl Edwards on the pole for the Brickyard 400, Rick.
Yeah, absolutely, Marty. It's the 3rd Indy pole for Joe Gibbs Racing, so they have become comfortable starting up front at the Brickyard as we look at the first 4 rows.
Yeah, and not just Joe Gibbs Racing, but it seems like Toyota. David Reagan, Clint Boyer, both MWR cars also in the top 8.
And what a good sign for Tony Stewart to be disappointed with starting 4th. That's
exactly.
A good thing.
There's Kyle Busch, Jamie McMurray in row 5.
Danica Patrick, Casey Mears, both with really good runs.
Deeper in the field, Denny Hamlin. So good yesterday in practice. And then we'll start on the inside of row 9. Jeff Gordon in his final race at Indianapolis in row 10.
This is where we're going to see if this package helps pass or not. Look at Brad Keselowski down in row 16, so we know he's got a fast car. Will this package help him get up to the front?
Trevor Bayne, Mike Lynette in row 17. At the end of round 1 of qualifying, the name that was in row 18 was the 31 of Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman's time was disallowed because that right side window was not in the car, so he will have to start in the 43rd position.
Yeah, even though it's a disadvantage to run without the right side window, it's still a rule that you have to have it in, so the lap he ran without that window in has to be disallowed.
Qualifying is complete. The next thing on track will be the Xfinity Series. Carl Edwards celebrating that win. When we come back, final thoughts from the Brickyard for NASCAR America. Drivers have been racing in this facility for over 100 years. The Sprint Cup Series qualifying just completed. Tony Stewart with the throngs of media around him. Pretty good day. 4th for his qualifying effort back in his home state. And so after qualifying is done, we see Carl Edwards winning the pole. Joe Gibbs Racing seems to be on a run.
Yeah, they do. You know, they've done about a month ago, something happened.
Yeah.
And they just started running, and now they're running at every kind of racetrack. So whatever they learned, what's unusual, it's worked at every different kind of racetrack. So right now, it'd be hard to say they're not the team to beat.
Yeah, the new package, you don't get to see how it runs with other cars in single car qualifying, but the 2 rounds made a big difference. The 14 of Tony Stewart and the 42 of Kyle Larson, they were great in round 1, but couldn't overcome the 19 of Carl Edwards in round 2.
And we heard Jeff Gordon mentioning getting into turn number 1 is going to be interesting. 2 and 3 wide racing. So we're looking forward to that. It's time for NASCAR America. Let's go to Krista, Kyle, and DJ.